Hello and welcome to Lux Talk. I'm your host Sancho. With me is the members of Lux, Charlemagne.
Yo!
Hyper2K.
It's K2. Gosh dang it, how long have we been in this and you're still messing up my name?
And Zora.
Good morning.
Lux Talk is a free-form discussion for us to talk about the happenings in the world of video games, music, movies, and even into politics and other personal aspects of our lives. How is everyone doing this evening?
Man, it's cold and I love it. I can't complain.
It's Florida cold.
Weather's turning.
By Florida cold, he means it's like 85.
Which is totally good enough. How you doing, Chancha?
I wish I knew what 85 felt like. It's been 40-something here every day.
I'll trade you.
You can have it. So, I have a list of topics we're going to discuss about for this pilot episode, which, by the way, I failed to mention that it is October 25th, just for anyone who's going to be keeping track of this. Let's get started on the first one. Let's discuss free-to-play. From my personal aspect, I find that free-to-play games actually are a detriment to games. Like, World of Warcraft was not free-to-play, and you got what you paid for with a monthly subscription. Now you get games like Guild Wars and even Cities of Hero and all that, where it offers quite a lot, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's as flushed out as something where you pay for it. I think that's maybe just a personal aspect, but I find there's a lot of shortcomings to it. You don't feel as achieved as, I guess. Like, I leveled quickly in Guild Wars 2 versus World of Warcraft, where I sat for months trying to get a fucking sea crab as a pet, as a hunter, and it felt rewarding for that. What do you say, Charlemagne?
First of all, sea crab was the best crab. Free-to-play is this very interesting aspect of which gaming is taking lately, and I remember the first free-to-play game I've ever played that wasn't just simple browser-based RuneScape was APB, and at the time, it wasn't supposed to be a free-to-play game. It started with a $15 subscription, the player base just wasn't there, and they went free-to-play and sold to another company. And that initial introduction to free-to-play kind of showed me microtransactions, and in that game specifically, if you had that extra $5 to $10 laying around, you can suddenly blow up everybody else with no...
Which game was this again?
This is APB, All Points Bulletin.
Oh, that one. Okay, yeah. That game, I remember it got a lot of flack about something, but maybe it's because it was one of those early free-to-play games people just didn't understand.
So much potential.
Yeah, but you mentioned the microtransactions. I mean, couldn't these items just be included in a standard monthly fee? Yes, you get X amount of something to unlock because you pay a monthly subscription fee, versus I'm going to spend X amount of money for a key this week, even though I'm going to probably spend twice as much next week when the new items are coming out.
So what you're saying is League of Legends.
But it's interesting you say that.
Look at TF2. TF2, you can get an item just by playing the game, but more often than not, you get a damn crate, and you have to spend money to open that crate. And you'll get the same damn items on occasion that you would get just finding naturally.
Exactly. And it's funny you mentioned, League of Legends and TF2, because it's really two different aspects of the same free-to-play philosophy, but then I laugh because I used to spend so much money on League of Legends, and I'm like, I don't know why I did that, but then I'm here playing Dota, and I'll get into Dota, and I'll be like, well, I'll spend $5 or $10 a month, I'll open chests, but then they'll make a set for a hero I love, and it's like, I can totally do $17 or $19, and it really depends on the quality of game that makes free-to-play interesting.
Zora, anything to add?
Not particularly. You pretty much covered everything. I do just want to say the comparison between a free-to-play the moment it's released is truly different than going free-to-play because of its age. I believe a game has all right to go free-to-play once it hits that mark where no one's buying that game anymore, like TF2. It went free-to-play because of its downfall in community. They can see all of that on their side, and it truly was the smart idea to do that. Before the game went free to play, the only community left within that game was the trading community, really. And the moment it went free to play, it boosts its numbers back up, whether it's making money or not, and people still like the game, free to play or not. Now, Guild Wars, on the other hand, that's something completely different. I think that they chose not to go free to play to keep some sort of player numbers or anything like that. I think that was a financial reason. I do truly think they're capitalizing on what they call the gem store, the auction house. And yeah, it's just different.
Well,
it's just different.
Talking about these stores and everything like that, games like Planetfall, where literally you pay to win because you will get a better weapon than somebody. They claim, yes, if you play X amount of time, you eventually will unlock the same items. But we're talking, it takes weeks, months, even I've seen it take even a year to unlock one damn weapon for a character you liked playing, but because you had to party a different way, you didn't unlock enough points for that party.
For PlanetSide, right?
Oh, yeah, PlanetSide too. If I remember playing when if your max had anti-aircraft gun, my God, you were the god of land. You could take down anyone's ship coming near you. But again, that was only people willing to pay for the damn things. Otherwise, you had to spend forever to get the damn. Does free-to-play actually equate to pay-to-win, or is that just one of the many aspects of these setups? Like, can you play a free-to-play game simply for the lulz and the fun, or is it simply, I'm going to play, I'm going to be competitive, and if they put an item out there that makes me better just by buying it, I'm going to get it regardless of the action beforehand?
Well, obviously the best way to play is to play for the lulz, obviously. But it's interesting, again, how you mention, pay to win, because games like, I can't say League of Legends because, champion purchasing, but Dota, Team Fortress, well, even not Team Fortress, I guess, but Guild Wars especially, it's strictly cosmetic. It does nothing for you in terms of how you compete against other players. It's just, I feel like looking really cool as I compete with other players.
Well, you mentioned League of Legends. Well, what about other MOBAs like Smite, where you can unlock heroes by playing the game a lot, or you just spend like $10 and you can unlock 2 heroes, and they are significantly better than those you start with, and people will go out and buy these characters just to win.
See, I think, a lot of this, what it boils down to is I don't really think it's really a problem with the free-to-play model. I think you really just have to judge it on a company-by-company basis. Because, like you were saying like earlier, when you're going from, say, one game to another, it depends on really how they want to handle it. Because there's some good examples of free-to-play, there's some bad ones. So that shows to me, like, it really just depends on what the company, how they want to handle it. They can either do it well, they can do it bad. It's not really, like, the format. It's kind of like saying, if you have, like, a subscription-based, like, game, like an MMO, that, you had a subscription, some people didn't play some ones because they thought it was just a bad game. Not because, and the subscription on top of that just made it worse. So it's kind of like the same thing, but, like, free-to-play version.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. Let's compare two free-to-plays right now. We'll just do the two main ones, League of Legends and Dota 2. Do you feel that the free-to-play aspect of these two games is similar enough that there is no comparison, like there's no way to just differentiate the two, or do these two actually kind of complement and or backslap each other? Dota's crate system and just randomly finding stuff is all I really know. I've never played League of Legends because I just couldn't get into it. But, do you feel like there's enough of a difference even though these are two similar games?
You mean in their free-to-play systems?
I don't believe there's much difference at all. Really, it comes down to if you're a person who has enough time on his or her hands to game, then you'll game and get better at the game. It all comes down to whether how good you want to get and how much time you want to put into it. Yeah. For people who don't have time in their lives for games, free-to-play sounds worse. For people who play games quite often, how many hours a day, a week do people play games? A ton? Well, guess what? The concept of free-to-play to them, it's a shrugged matter. It's not important whatsoever. Yes, you can buy brand on League of Legends for 6,400 IP, or I can play for 2 days straight and then buy them too for free. It goes like what Hyper said, from company to company. It also goes from player to player. Now, is Dota and League of Legends comparable, yeah, I truly do think so. That's not talking the meta of runes and whatnot inside of League. But yeah, it truly is cosmetic, and if you have the time to dedicate it to it, then you'll prosper. And as soon as you hit the time dedication into prosper concept, that's when you can branch in all of the free-to-plays, first-person shooters and whatnot.
Well, I think one of the main differences, though, for specifically Dota 2 and League is that, see, here's the thing with League of Legends is that when you play it, you get IP. And then you can specifically target like what you want. Whereas in Dota 2, it's all like, yeah, you can get stuff by just playing, but like that's just a chance to get stuff. And then even then it's like stuff that it's randomized. You know, you get a random item and like it's nice, don't get me wrong, but you know, you don't really get to pick. But then again, I feel like a lot of stuff, first of all, not everything is available in League of Legends. You know, like the cosmetics you have to buy, and then you know you can basically pick and choose which character you want to unlock when you eventually save up enough IP. So it ends up being kind of a little bit different in the sense that whereas in Dota you're like playing along, you just play for the heck of it. Well, I mean, you do in League obviously too, but I mean, like you're just playing along for the heck of it, and then like if something happens to drop, you're like, oh, that's nice. Whereas in League, you can be in a different mindset of like, okay, I'm saving up for this guy. I just need, 20 more games, and then I'll be able to afford this person.
Yeah, and with
that's a little bit different because you're saving up for this guy, but there's nothing. This guy, whoever this guy is, he changes you. That's a whole nother, like, let's say, portion of the game you're unlocking. In Dota, it's already all there. It's maybe other people are different from me, but I don't think aesthetics should even be considered something that you have to quote unquote work for. You're working for portions of the game in League. You're not working for anything in Dota. You have it. A person walking in off the street can be better than all of us.
So
theoretically.
Theoretically.
So cosmetically, it really doesn't matter. I mean, you're literally playing to make your character look neat in Dota. I mean, you just want items for them. You just want to be different than everybody else, which is pretty much what TF2 was doing, except they did have items that kind of changed gameplay. But in League of Legends, you are actually unlocking entire characters just for the sake of playing a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Imagine Dota with only Drow, Bounty Hunter, Dragonite, and, a few more. That's it.
So, like, now.
That meta.
Alright, I see the comparison. Alright, let's, what about something like World of Warcraft? Do you feel that at this point in its age, that going free-to-play was the right choice? Or is this considered, like, a downgrade for them?
World of Warcraft. This incredible, what is it now, 13-year-old cash cow that Blizzard has been raking in for who knows how long? Is that how old this game is now? 13?
I don't know.
You should look this up before you ask these questions.
You're right.
But
wait,
yeah,
hold on.
It is one of the oldest running MMOs out there.
Rewind. Hold on. Wait a second. Are you telling me that World of Warcraft is free to play now? Is this started?
I believe,
in a way,
in the way they are trying to go free to play.
Because as far as I know, you can still do starter editions where like you can play up to like what level 15 or 20 or something.
Yeah.
And I know about that, but I don't think they're full free to play yet. I think I would have heard about that.
Do you feel they should go free to play at this point, given how long the game has been running?
So are you asking if it should go free to play?
Should it go free to play at this point? I mean, the content's already there, and everybody knows it, and nobody's really... You're not going to suck in new people with the same prices and everything. So if they go new to free, if they do go free to play, where you can pay for little things like adventures and such like that, do you think this is a right step for them, or do you think at this point it's just shaking the wallet out of the homeless guy to see what pennies are left?
9 years. This game has maybe absorbed my life for 8 of those 9 years it's been out, and to be honest, the numbers lately for its player base, they have been dropping. I keep hearing rumors on these websites that, Warcraft, maybe they'll go free to play soon because the numbers aren't good, and people, they'll suck people back in if they don't have to pay money. And, you know, they might be right. I don't want to admit it, because I thought I broke the addiction. But if World of Warcraft... if World of Warcraft went free again, or for once...
I mean, why not, right? I mean, it's free. That's you just don't want to pay the sub, right?
Yeah, like, I've seen everything there is as far as the first 3 expansions. I had the fun I wanted to have. I didn't enjoy Cataclysm. I don't think I'd enjoy the Pandas. But, God, if it went free, I can't say I'd buy any expansions, but I would certainly jump back in and play a couple more characters, just because it's the nostalgia factor, and because it's 9 years old, they can cash in on that nostalgia factor anytime they want.
But you're talking nostalgia, but they've changed gameplay. They've changed a lot. Like literally,
I was just about to say that. It's like, you say nostalgia, but if you loaded it from what I've seen, it's like completely different.
Yeah.
Like even the talents are all completely different. It's just like a completely different game.
I was one of the few fortunate ones who got into early alpha build of the game, and I could remember, you know, taking a warrior and teaching him how to lockpick to open chests and such like that, and, you know, training him to use a rifle that I fished out of the water, and it was amazing. And then they changed everything, and I'm like, okay, it makes sense now, but it's not as fun. And I played the game upwards to about 5 years or so. Then went back when Frozen Throne came out, and I detest that one, by the way. But I mean, they keep changing stuff, so there is no nostalgia, because what you remember playing is no longer there.
Yeah, it's true, and it makes me wonder if I go back and play, and it's free, you know, so let's say theoretically it goes free to play. I get excited, I go back into my near nostalgia, I open the game, and I realize all too quickly this is the same game. Nothing. Maybe it would be a bad thing, because when I went to go back during my time of trying to break that Warcraft addiction, I would jump in the game, I'd run around for 2 seconds, and be like, nothing's changed, I'm not interested in this, and I would stop playing.
I'll say more back to the point of whether it should or whatever. I feel like at this point, if they did, it'd be more of an issue of like, well, what would their model be? Like, what would they sell? So, I mean, there's like a lot of things they could have sold. Like, say, they have a lot of pets in the game that don't really do anything.
The pets can actually fight now, and they do things.
Yeah, well, still, but it's not really an integral part. Like, I don't think you like make your character actually better.
I want my baby Murloc to kill you.
But either way, but the problem with that though is like they have stuff that maybe they could have done, but the problem is like, well, you can't just like retroactively go in there like and say, oh well, now you got to pay for this stuff because it's already been there for free because it's on the subscription basis.
Yeah.
And I think on top of that, while I think they could probably get a lot of money out of it, at the same time, they probably don't need to, so they're not going to, because as far as like a business decision, I don't think they really need to when they still have plenty of subscribers and it's still profitable, because like, let's be honest, they've had I'm pretty sure it's the same engine at the very least. It's all been touched up and it looks fancier, but it's all the same tech as far as I know.
Which was unlike EverQuest, which went from a really shitty thing to a slightly better looking thing, but still was shitty.
Yeah, so they basically have had just, they just added it on, and sure, they spent a lot of money on it, their fancy cutscenes and everything, but they've also made a lot of money back on it, so they can just go ahead and, every month they're getting big sub money, so...
We'll see. Yeah. Okay, you touched on this. Every month they are getting money, and therefore they are creating content and things that I hate to say it, but a lot of free-to-plays just don't do because the money's not there. Yes, they get money off of items that they could sell or something like that, but the only money they really make is the income of when somebody buys the core game. Do you feel that is the big difference right there between a subscription game and a free-to-play game?
I don't think so, because I don't know how closely you've been following it, but Guild Wars has been on point like every month. They release a new thing like all the time. I still get in my email, it's like, hey, look at this new event going on, and it's like
there's a mini expansion every week. Exactly.
Yeah, it's like all the time. So like I don't really see how, because right now
I will give NCSoft credit where credit is due. When they launched City of Heroes and they let you tailor your character who he was, and then Champions Online came out, where you could actually customize a villain and you had a story around your character. They did excel at that. That I did love about the aspect of it, is that they did tailor the game to you, but it was a bit cookie cutter. If you played a character a second time through, it was the same thing, just different looks. But I will give them credit on that. We're going to move on to the next topic, though. We're going to talk about the next-gen consoles here.
Oh, man.
Big one here. we have failed to deliver what they promised. We have charges too much for what they have. We have trying to steal your DNA through their damn webcam, I'm pretty sure. And rehash the same damn thing, but in high definition. I'm a bit older now, so I tend not to really give a shit about the consoles, but I do actually like the TV aspects of it, that it's essentially a home entertainment system now, and that kind of appeals to me quite a bit, actually, versus the games anymore, because I tend to watch DVDs on my players more than play games.
Well, has anyone else here used the Wii U?
I have not.
Because I have played one. It's kind of interesting. It was okay. I didn't play a ton of games on it, but my brother has one, and he brought it over, and we played it, and I thought, you know what, it was okay. I mean, I felt like it wasn't a huge leap, really, but then again, that's kind of typical Nintendo. They're very good at iteration, and
so you're okay with furry Mario then?
Whatever. I don't care what new suit they give Mario.
Suit.
I don't care. Do whatever you want.
Do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, my Xbox, I haven't played a game on that in over a year or so. It's literally just been playing DVDs.
Yeah.
I mean, does this console war really strike anybody? Or is this simply just, oh, look, they're doing it again. Here's my $300 to $400. Shut up and give me the newest release.
It's that's kind of where I'm at. I remember watching the original Wii, be announced and being incredibly excited at the time. I was still young, and oh god, Nintendo's making a new console. There's gonna be Zelda games. There's probably gonna be new Mario. I got excited for it. It came out. I bought it. I played it for a couple weeks, and I moved on. And since then, the console wars, I sit back and laugh. All right, you're doing it again, and here it comes. It's 5 years, and new one. But this year seems interesting, because I want to throw in the whole contenders. We have the Xbox One, the the PlayStation 4, yeah, that's the one, and the Wii U. But then you have Valve being like, hey, PC can do this.
The giant shadow of Gabe Newell looming in the background.
Gabe Newell kicks the door down, comes stomping in hey, we're on TV now. And what are they? They're shipping soon, very early access alpha models of Steambox. I want to see how that's going to play out. That's what I want to see.
I know. I think Valve's got their work cut out for them, but then again, they've done some pretty impressive things. As far as I was going to mention before with the whole concept of the console wars and all that stuff, it's always been kind of a thing for since video games have been out. Sega versus Nintendo and all that. But this for this current gen that we're on right now with the Xbox One and PS4, the last gen was so long in comparison. People, I think, have just kind of mellowed out a bit. Yeah, there's still some rivalry, but they're pretty much ready to release pretty soon. But there's been I don't think there's really been as much of a war going on. People are just they'll pick their side.
Do you feel they haven't turned on their hype machines yet? Because normally you would see commercials constantly telling you to buy the new fucking thing that's shiny. I mean, you couldn't watch a show without seeing a PS3 commercial or even an Xbox One. We would sneak one or two in there, which was kind of weird with Grandpa jumping up and down playing hula hoop or whatever. But I mean, I really haven't noticed them this year.
I'm not even talking about advertising. I'm talking more about the actual fan base and the companies themselves per se, just kind of going at each other, because at this point there's a lot less, I don't know, there's less exclusives, I feel and just kind of I don't know, the whole, it's kind of just melding together. They're just not like, I don't know, they just don't seem as like they're, I don't know, they're not fighting as much against each other. I don't know, it just doesn't seem like before there was like this really strong like feeling of like pick a side. It's just like, just pick one of them. They're both got a lot of games. You know, they do the same.
Team Mario.
Yeah, they do the same things pretty much for the most part. Just, I don't know, pick one, I guess. I don't know, that's just my impression, but maybe I just haven't been paying attention.
What about the Kinect? Xbox and Microsoft are like, we know you don't like it, but hey, you get one anyways. It's been like...
Well, I mean, and it's improved. It's supposed to handle shorter distances, so people don't need a stadium to play the damn thing anymore. But speaking of the Kinect, how do you feel about the idea that this thing it's on but not on, it's listening for the magic words? I mean, that's kind of invasive, really. It's like a clapper, except it's like waiting for you to say porn.
Yeah. If I say the word bomb, am I instantly going to have Big Brother watch my living room because I just sparked the NSA's interest? Like, is that going to be a thing? And at the same time, it can be intrusive, and we figure, the Kinect is going to be this horrible overlord of the living room. But is it as invasive as Google Glass could be? I mean, this thing's going to be tied to your face with a camera, and it's going to know your searches, and it's going to be projecting into your eye.
What's Google Glass?
It's like an eye headpiece that you wear that can... Essentially, it's like a small monitor where you can search shit like that through Google right there.
Like as you're like walking around being trendy?
Yeah, so you can order coffee while looking up videos of coffee on YouTube.
Yeah. It's like, my goodness, what's that thing on your face?
Well, actually, there was a case in France where a man had that surgically attached to his head, and he was attacked by McDonald's employees in France to yank the damn thing off him because they felt it was a violation of their privacy.
I remember reading about that, yeah. He was a scientist who had not exactly the glass, but a very similar machine that was attached to him for scientific purposes and studies and all that. And he apparently walked into McDonald's and they berated him and questioned him. Eventually, they kicked him out because they thought it was invading their privacy, just having it on his face.
So, wait, so this can take pictures, I guess?
It can show you. So, if you're a doctor and there's a car accident in front of you, you can contact somebody who might be better suited for first aid trauma. So, there you go. It's right there. Which I think is fantastic. But at the same time, it's like if I'm being a bit of a perv and looking at some girl's ass, I really don't need the internet to see me doing that. They know I'm doing it, but I don't want them to see it.
I don't know. It's kind of like, okay, well, what if you just walked around with a small camera? Are they gonna like give you a hard time then too? I mean,
they do. Some people are weary about that. You've seen it before. You have a camera, you're out taking pictures, or you're taking video with somebody. People will avoid you. They don't want to be seen.
I mean, yeah, I understand that, but like, and it's reasonable. But like like I said, at that point, it feels like it's kind of if people are already leery about you carrying around a small camera everywhere, then it's pretty much just the same thing, except it's maybe more noticeable. Although looking at it, it does actually look. It looks kind of nice. I mean, it doesn't look as stupid as I thought it would look.
It's a neat concept. I won't doubt that. I mean, I was picturing like sunglasses with the cross. They're all Terminator-like, and like, oh, right, this is awesome. But it's not. It's not as in like. It's not as protruding as you might picture it being, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I thought one of the neatest things, just looking at the main page there, is that like you can say if you're in a foreign country, like you can just say something and have it translated. That seems pretty useful.
Well, as I said, it has a lot of great aspects to it, but as it stands right now, I hate to say it, but it's going to be such a hipster thing. I mean, look at my Google Glass. I can look up, this is so 1982, I can see it now. Wah ha ha.
Now, if only it was made by Apple, then it would would be the true hipster device.
And then they'll attach giant phones, actual handheld phones to them, so they can look more hipster. I've seen that. It's a thing. You don't want to
know.
Zora,
I feel
to
like
add?
We might be getting derailed slightly.
From new consoles to Google Glass? Yeah, no kidding.
Best tangent ever made.
Well, okay, let's get back on talk about next gen consoles then. As you stated earlier, there is a lack of one console only. I forgot
Hype.
that term. What was that term again? I forgot.
Hype. Berating.
No, not
Degrading,
berating, but
competing.
anyway. No,
Like the rivalry,
exclusivities.
or-
I'm sorry,
Oh, that.
exclusivities. I'm brain fart right there. But I mean, we're still gonna have the ones that are only for those consoles. You're still only gonna get Halo on the Xbox. You're only gonna get Gears of War on the Xbox. You're only gonna get Mario on the Wii. All the staples are still there. But I mean, how many times can they really wheel out the same old characters? I mean, nothing's changed. It's the same fat plumber trying to save his dumb girlfriend from the guy he goes golfing with on the weekend. I can only grunt and hug a wall so many times in a game and then cut somebody with a chainsaw, which makes no sense physically. But, I mean, if you look at, like, let's look at Kickstarter and some indie games. I mean, you notice a large of some of them are trying to bring back old style games, and they're working. People love them.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have pictured DuckTales getting remade in high definition, although I did hear the cutscenes are killer for that, and it's a pain in the ass. But, I mean, I've paid for a couple games to be, like, Mighty 9, for instance. What are your thoughts on that, on a game like that? Which is
Mega
a
Man.
rehash of Mega Man. Well, it is the guy who made Mega Man, essentially.
Yeah,
He's just bringing it back away from Nintendo so he can bring it back to where it was from.
I'm just gonna say I did participate a little. I voted for there was a vote that you could have done to vote for your favorite sidekick, like heroine character, and so that was kind of neat. I voted for one of those. There was like 9 concept arts you could pick from.
Nice.
And that was neat. I was gonna mention. You can go on with the other stuff in a sec, but I was gonna mention one thing also about exclusives. I have to admit, Nintendo, man.
Nintendo
They
Man?
are like, yes, they're the greatest superhero.
Better
You know,
than
I'm
Mega
gonna,
Man.
I'm gonna admit something
No.
here. I raged at first when I found out Monster Hunter 3 or Tri was going to be on the Wii, and I played the living shit out of that. And I almost bought a Wii U just to play the updated version of it.
I'm just saying though, Nintendo and their IPs are so strong. Like every generation, like that's why, like they're still around. Like because people love. They want to play Mario. You have to get a Nintendo. If you want to get this series, like you have to get a Nintendo console,
Yeah.
like whatever that happens to be. And they're like, I don't know exactly the specifics, but like their dealings or their, however they set it up, and the way they do their business, it's brilliant. Because I remember I read an article. If I could pull it up quickly, I would. But I read something about how somebody asked a representative from Nintendo, like, have you ever thought about, selling out your IPs, like, and selling them out to the other consoles, and making them available so that you could play whatever on another console besides just a Nintendo one? And he was like, you know what, I could do that. I think it was the head company. His name escapes me. Iwata, maybe? Is that the guy?
Not Miyamoto. He'd never sell any
No,
of his.
it's Miyamoto's just I don't know. Either way, the head guy at Nintendo, he was saying, I could do that, and I would probably make a lot of money right now, but it would basically ruin this company in the long run. And he's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to compromise the Nintendo brand
Yeah.
and
really,
basically ruin it. So he's like, so that's why we're not going to do it. And I'm like, you know what? Good for you.
and literally, look how well their IPs are selling for them. I mean, even like myself, I bought a 3DS day one for $350 because, holy
Yeah.
crap, they're remaking Ocarina of Time, my favorite game, and I had to have it. And
Yeah,
even,
there's a lot of stuff like
Yeah,
for 3DS. It's just you can, especially like that and PSP. It's just you can only get them there. So you pick one. That's what you get.
even just now, it's like Pokemon X and Y just came out, and how many people from our group just went out and bought a 3DS, or just to play Pokemon, or just went out and bought Pokemon, or are thinking about buying a 3DS just to play it,
Now, okay, you brought up Pokemon, which is another thing I've never played. I knew enough about them, but do you feel like every time they do another generation, they do some theme? and I don't really know the theme of this generation. It's not life or death or anything like that. But do you feel like they differentiate the games enough to warrant so many, like a release every couple of years with just two versions of the same game, just one thing different in each one?
Story-wise, absolutely not. Gameplay-wise, definitely.
Well, I think I said this before, was that Nintendo is like the master of iteration, and that's just like, this is like a prime example. Because really though, like, and they are pretty similar, and their formula is the same, but it's really iterative. Like, you take with X and Y now, it really is a huge leap in my opinion. To like, you just go from the beginning, and you're like, because for people who are like, man, all these games are the same, and then in reality though, you go to Red and Blue, all the way up to X and Y, and you're like, holy crap, this is like completely different, you know? Even though it's been a while, but you know what I mean. And if you ask me, I think maybe one of the big, like, if they wanted to do another big leap, like the big leap this time, I think was probably the full 3D, because that was, that's never been done in a Pokemon game. I think their next big leap, if they were going to do something as impactful as that, is I think they're going to add voice acting. That would be a big step, also. Yeah. Because it's not like it's not like the 3DS or whatever the next console is, if assuming it's more powerful than the 3DS. It's not like it can't handle voice acting, at least in a limited capacity. So.
True that. In the console war like that, you have Nintendo who has these IPs that just continue to sell product because people know what's tried and true and what they're gonna like to play. And you get the Mario games and all the kids and families jump over it. You make the Pokemon games and people who played it when they were younger, or younger kids who just want to get in now, they'll jump all over that. And then you gotta look at the Xbox One and the PS4, and you have things like, oh hey, we have Halo 5, and we have insert generic PS4 launch title, Killzone. That's the one. We have Killzone, but I never hear anyone talk like, hey, I'm gonna buy a PS4 because I really enjoy Killzone. Or hey, okay, actually that's not true. People freak out over Halo for some odd reason. I was gonna say, yeah, I don't know. I hear people say that kind of stuff. Halo tends to be a big one. I never understood that why, but you compare those to Nintendo's Mario and their Pokemon and their Zelda and their Super Smash Brothers. It's another big one. Like, I'm probably gonna buy a Wii U just to play Super Smash Brothers and maybe play Wind Waker HD on television. And that's how they sell to me. But I look at the Xbox and I look at the PS4, and sure, they're introducing this innovation, this wonderful thing, but my PC here does that. Like, I don't want to play Halo, I don't want to play Killzone. My PC gets all the games I want, and I built it stronger than any of these consoles can advertise. It's like, for me, and maybe you feel the same way, it's like maybe, I feel like I've gone full circle. Like, I started with a Super Nintendo and a regular Nintendo NES, and then I was like, yeah, man, this Xbox, this is pretty cool. And then now, it's like, you know what? I can get all these experiences on the Xbox and PS4 on my PC, for the most part. Not exactly, but you know what? Close enough. I could play Battlefield or whatever, Yeah. And then, but if you want those truly, like, because Nintendo makes a lot of unique games, in my opinion. They're kind of specific, like like Fire Emblem or something. You gotta have, and like I said, since they're all exclusives, you gotta get that Nintendo console. So it's like, you know what? I'll just get a 3DS and be done with it. Yeah, and I can just play the stuff on PC. But definitely, I don't know. And I wanted Zora's opinion on this because he just delved into the world of building a PC. I mean, as someone who's just built, you've just built a new PC. You see these consoles coming out. Oh, there's exclusives, all this wonderful stuff. But would you ever consider, after playing on this PC of yours, going back?
Honestly?
Yeah.
No, sir.
No?
Nope. Not even remotely interested, frankly.
Well, what if it was the Steam PC or a Steam console they're coming out with?
That's a good question.
It would have to be something, one, truly amazing, and two, unique to the Steam console. I don't think anything really can drag me off of this, except, and this is just because it's of nothing but pure, but personal opinion, nothing but Nintendo can drag me off of this thing now. because of Nintendo's so damn retro and because of Zelda. That's just what it is.
Zelda sells. Another thing, which is interesting about that Steam is doing, and I feel it's really a niche market, because there's people like us. We have our computers, we have our super machines that we play games on, and you think, oh, Steam console's cool, it's awesome, I can't wait. But let me play devil's advocate. How many people are really going to buy it? Everyone who's on Steam already has, or usually will already have, a computer capable of playing what they want to play. Does this fit? And then, like myself, I have this computer. And people might say, well, the controller. You want to have an analog form of playing. It's like, sure, but I can just plug an Xbox 360 controller into it, and I get the same thing. But then Steam did something different with their controller. It's so odd, but it looks so good. I just shot up a link to the controller. Check that out. What do you think about it? Could this alone sell to people on PC? Now I have a controller. I get that big screen TV I want. I can play my PC games on it. I have this controller that can match keyboard, mouse controls, and at the same time be analog like a console controller. Why not?
Well, looking at the controller, I fear the ergonomic design of it because that thumb pads are so far inside. And unfortunately, I got tiny girly hands, like those commercials for the burgers. But anyway, it's a unique looking controller, but I still prefer a mouse and keyboard. That's part of the reason why I stay with the computer over the consoles.
Yeah. Well, there's a growing amount of PC games that are made with you can, like, for example, like on the link I'm on now, they show example of Civ 5, perfectly playable with a controller, a mouse and keyboard. But I'm assuming, I haven't tried it, but that seems like a game that you could probably get to work on a controller just fine too. Mm-hmm. And especially like if you want to play, like, say, Super Street Fighter, you're going to use a controller, but that's still on PC. Like, there's like a lot of games that either are better on a controller that happen to be on PC, or work well on both. I figure that if you want to do this, you would have to make sure that, like, the type of games you like to play are the ones that would benefit. Like, playing Skyrim or something.
Yeah.
Because you can play that on a controller. In fact, I'd say it's probably was developed like that. Or it was intended to play like that.
Yeah, they clearly designed it that way because they were trying to dual release it on consoles as well.
Those menus. That's all I gotta say.
So, which, by the way, modded out, like, as soon as it was possible, those menus, got rid of that. But, I just noticed, maybe this is kind of stupid, I just noticed, like, a little while ago, finally, I actually noticed, like, where the buttons are on this controller, like the A and B. And I don't know, man. Like, the whole, like, boombox, like, analog sticks, whatever. But, like, I don't know. The way the buttons are just shaped,
it's interesting.
I don't know. Maybe they must have, I'm assuming they must have tested this.
Yeah.
What looks interesting, though, is I don't know too much about this. Do you know anything about, looks like there's a screen in the middle? Like, what do you do with that?
Valve actually released a video a week or two ago demoing the controller and how it functions. Currently, they want the touchscreen to do things like it'll do quick loads, quick saves, just basic little shortcuts that you get on PC that you wouldn't be able to find on a controller.
Oh, that's actually pretty neat because like on a controller, if you can have quick save, but like it's not really that quick. If you have to, like, press start and, like, hit quick save anyways, I don't know.
Gotta
pause. Having that, or some button, you can have it on there, that'd be nice.
Well, now here, what if somebody is playing on their Steam box or whatever, and they have their controller in hand, and I text them a messaging game? How are they going to respond to that quickly and or efficiently with that thing?
Oh, man. I was hoping somebody would ask me this question. All right, real quick. If you have the time, whenever you want, go in your Steam, hit the big picture button, and go to the messaging. Just send a message to somebody. It only works, I guess, if you have an Xbox controller currently. But when you do have, a Steam controller, they have this really weird, like, flower / rotisserie, rotary looking
A rotisserie control, that's
yeah.
freaking awesome. It makes
Like
me
basically,
hungry.
Team rotisserie now in Walmart.
like basically, your left stick controls what letter group you're on. Like group 1 will be A, B, C, D. And there's 4 letters per group, and as you turn your left stick, you pick different groups, and your A, X, B, Y button select the letters in that group. And I see Zora just launched Big Picture, and he's probably playing around with this now. But it's innovative. But if I had a keyboard, I would never want to touch it. I would never want to have to use my controller to type out a message to somebody if I have a keyboard available.
Now, we're going to jump to the next topic here. We're going to delve into the price of games here, because I'm noticing a trend with games typically are ranging between $40 and $60.
Oh, God.
Now, that's not usually a problem. Like, that's always kind of been the way it is. I mean, what was it? Halo originally was like $40-some when it first came out. But my issue is DLC, downloadable content. And this is mainly with PCs, but even a couple consoles even have this feature now. We're talking about... say you're playing Borderlands, you paid full price. You paid the $30, $40 for it. Why should I have to pay another $99 just for something that is a minor thing? I shouldn't that already be included in there? I mean, they have expansion packs for this kind of shit. I mean, why not? If you're not going to release it all at the same time, or if you are going to release it a little later, why not give it to me for free if it's just a little thing? Versus instead of coming out with an expansion pack where it's a lot of stuff that I'm paying for, and that I feel like I get ripped off every time I download anything that's downloadable content that isn't like a full expansion's worth of information.
Yeah.
I think this ties in also with like when you're saying about the free-to-play stuff. Like, to me, it's just a per company basis. Some people have better DLC, some people don't. You just have to I would say just make sure you do research on it and find out, make sure you don't just to beat a dead, horse, as the expression is. You don't want to get the horse armor again.
Yeah, I was gonna say they released the horse armor, which was you can get just that and all that, and then within a month or more later, they came out with an expansion box that had like 8 different things for a cheaper price than if you bought them all together. I mean, that is horse shit, pardon the pun there, but I just bought the Season 2 pass for Borderlands 2, and I got quite a bit for that, a lot of missions and stuff like that, but I didn't get the 2 characters that they had released, because
Really?
They want you to pay $10 for them.
That didn't include the characters?
That did not include the Psycho or the Necromancer.
I thought it would. That kind of floors me, because usually I think it's 2K, usually they're very good with that.
And again, like games like Blizzard, where you pay for the content, and with them, they release stuff on the workshop, which I think is a really awesome idea. Let's make a product that the fans themselves are bringing us content for free for us to put out there, and a lot of it is really good. I mean, there's some shit in there, but there's a lot of really good content out of that. Do you feel that sometimes the player content is better than that of the editors? I mean, let's dive back to TF2 here. They had their workshop, and they had a lot of really great ideas that you could download and play your game, which they usually fuck up as soon as the next patch comes out. But but then they sneak it into the game when they do like their big, here's this big workshop bonanza crate where you can unlock all these items that created in the workshop.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is the right route for these games, to really let players come up with better items than their own development team? I mean, they're saving time and effort because we're doing all the work for them.
They're saving time and effort, and they're still cashing in on it, which is interesting, because like with Dota and TF2, the comparison is, okay, well, we'll make a couple weapons, and Valve made a couple weapons, and they made a couple sets of armor for Dota, and then Polycount came along, and it came out first when TF2 was going, and we had the items, we had some cosmetics, fancy hats, and then Polycount happened. It introduced something so much more. It's like, sure, you can have hats, but now you can have a fancy boots, or a nice shirt for your soldier, or something else. And then Dota Valve makes their items. There are still some items that Valve makes, but then the polycount patch happened, and it really raised the bar for quality of DLC, if you want to call it, or just extra content.
I feel like as far as like user created content that's put into the actual game, I think that's kind of more of like a Valve thing. Is there like any other companies that are doing that really?
No.
I mean, I can't think of any.
Originally, actually, Bethesda, before they even joined Valve, had done that with a couple of their previous games. Players had come up with mods and such like that, and they released it. That actually goes back to even further than that, when we had games like Warcraft 2, where you had a level editor and people could make maps and then trade them online.
Look where Dota came from.
Well,
that
not
was
even
from
that though. Like, you can go ahead and do that. I'm talking about like if you made something and then it was like implemented like officially in the game, like it is in TF2 and Dota. I do know that with Relic, and they have Company of Heroes, and probably maybe other games. I do know they have regular map contests, and like people in the community make maps for their games, and that goes into their regular rotations in the game. I know that, but that's not.
Unreal Tournament did the same thing. Really good maps got released publicly from the company. They'd go in and clean them up a little bit or something like that, or just change it just a bit, but they'd still give credit to the creators of these maps.
Yeah.
And I did want to also mention about one of the other facets of the topic you were saying about like the price of games in general.
Well, my thing is, should I still be paying $60 for a game if I'm going to buy downloadable content a week later?
Yeah, maybe not, but I feel like right now, like maybe I don't know how many people share this opinion, but I feel like games right now are like cheaper than ever. Like,
yeah,
I really think games right now are actually extremely cheap. Like, sure. Right now, like, the most expensive stuff you're generally going to find, like, United States anyways, is, like, $60. That's, like, your AAAs. But, like, compared to, like, there's just so many cheap games. Like, if you look back, back when, you had games for the NES, $80 or whatever. Like, those old games you look and you're like, oh, man, those games are crappy. You're like, man, I paid $80 for that. And that was, like, 1980s bucks. Which was like more, so
when did 60 become the standard? I must have missed that.
It was like in the when Microsoft entered the era, maybe. I don't know. It's been a long time.
I remember buying ones for $40 and saying $50, and now it typically came out around when the Xbox and PlayStation 2 were really battling.
Exactly.
They kind of agreed on this price and this price alone.
I remember that scaling. I remember buying Pokemon Ruby. Oh yeah, $20. But when I was a kid, that was a big deal. I had to ask my parents for $20. And then GameCube, and now it was $50. And that became a problem because now I'm paying $100 for 2 games, and now it's $60. And if I wanted to get 2 AAA titles, I'm now paying $120. But then you got to figure, like Chancho was saying, they throw in DLC with these now. If you see a AAA title, 9 out of 10 times they're going to add DLC. Something else, I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan. I love Assassin's Creed and every other Assassin's Creed game. And then Black Flag is coming out very soon. And if you go to the Black Flag page on the Steam store, the game is not coming out for another couple weeks, but guess what's there? You can buy a $20 season pass. If you want all the DLC that comes out for Assassin's Creed Black Flag, you cough out an extra $20. Now you're paying about $80, but you're gonna get the season pass and all the DLC. But I've never liked the Assassin's Creed DLC. I'll be a diehard Assassin's Creed fan to the end of my time, but the DLC has never kept my interest.
I was gonna say, case in point for what I was saying. Like, for example, I'm just gonna go for today. I'm looking at the Steam new releases, right? So here's the prices for the new release games list. $14.99, $9.99, $7.99, $9.99, $9.99, $13.49, $35.99.
But Steam has always been really good about their prices because they know you'll buy them.
And then here's the other thing with those is 4 out of 10 of those are on sale as a new release. 1, or maybe you can maybe say 2 out of these 10 are AAA, and they're still not $60. And a large chunk are indie, And indie sells well. Indie sells cheap.
Yeah, the only one on here that's AAA is on this current list right now is Batman Arkham Origins, and that's still $50, not $60. And I don't know if I consider this AAA, but it's not indie. It's like, I don't know, right, 1A maybe? I don't know. It's a Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 3
Yep.
full burst. Like, that's not like a AAA per se, but it's still like, it's got funding. It's by Bandai, I think. And that's $40. So
Yeah. I don't remember last time I paid $60 for a game. It might have been actually the last Assassin's Creed. Because either it'll be on sale, or Steam has a deal, or it's a indie game, or maybe, just maybe, the publisher decided we're not going to sell so expensive on PC because we'd have to make packaging, we'd have to create a manual, we'd have to print it off on a disc, we just threw it up on the internet.
Alright, we're going to wrap this up here in a little bit, but I'm going to get some final thoughts out of some of you. We're going to start with you, Shar. Any final thoughts on the topics we discussed today, or anything that you wanted to say that you didn't get a chance to?
If Warcraft goes free to play, you guys won't see me ever again.
Alright. Hyper?
well,
Hyper K2?
oh well, I'm glad you got it right this time. But I just think for a lot of the things, just to reiterate, it's all based on the company. Really, a lot of this stuff, and people are still trying to figure out what they can do, like what they can maybe, you could say what they can get away with, maybe. Especially with, talking about DLC and free-to-play and all this stuff, because a lot of companies do it terrible, and some companies do it well. And you see the ones who do it well are the ones who are popular, so...
Well,
Alright. And Zora, our silent protagonist here.
Oh, hey.
Any final thoughts on our discussion tonight, or anything that you'd want to discuss before we call it an evening?
Not really. Just, maybe back onto the free-to-play thing. I just don't want anyone to forget that no matter how much some people are having fun and others aren't, no matter how much money some people are spending and others aren't, it truly is a business decision, and everybody in that business needs and wants to make money. That's really all it comes down to. Everybody wants to have fun, but the business still does need to make money.
true that.
Alright, and I'm going to close out with my final thought. If you want me to play Pokemon, you better add breast physics. And with that, I wish everyone a fantastic night, and thank you for listening to us.